Hey Vikings Nation, what's going on? Strap in, because today we've got some real Minnesota Vikings news that could quietly shape the future of this offense in a massive way. This isn't a flashy headline about a star player, but trust me, this move hits right at the foundation of everything Kevin O'Connell wants to build. After a 9-8 season full of ups, downs, and frustrating inconsistency, the Minnesota Vikings officially made their first coaching change of the offseason. Offensive line coach Chris Cooper will not be retained, and that decision sends a clear message about accountability and evolution inside this building. And here's the teaser that should grab your attention right now. This might just be the first domino to fall. With uncertainty around multiple coaches and a critical need to fix the run game and pass protection, the Vikings are standing at a crossroads that could define the next era of this offense. This move marks the very first coaching staff change under Kevin O'Connell since he took over as head coach. That alone tells you how significant this moment is. KOC has shown patience, loyalty, and belief in his staff, so when he finally makes a cut, it's not done lightly. The offensive line has been a recurring issue for the Minnesota Vikings, especially in key moments. Despite some individual progress, the unit struggled with consistency, physicality in the run game, and clean pockets when it mattered most late in the season. For Vikings fans, this decision feels overdue but also intriguing. It signals that O'Connell knows the offense cannot fully evolve until the trenches are fixed, and that realization could lead to one of the most important hires of his tenure. Now let's zoom out for a second, because this coaching change may not happen in isolation. Defensive coordinator Brian Flores could be on the move at any moment, with head coaching interest still swirling around the league. On the offensive side, there's also uncertainty. Offensive coordinator Wes Phillips and quarterbacks coach Josh McCown have both been mentioned as potential candidates elsewhere, which means the Vikings could be facing a broader reshaping of the staff. That's why this offensive line hire matters so much. Stability, philosophy, and development up front will be crucial if the Minnesota Vikings want to avoid regression while juggling possible staff turnover elsewhere. So where do the Vikings turn next? The offensive line coach hotboard is long, diverse, and fascinating. There are internal options, familiar faces from O'Connell's past, and rising teachers from some of the best run games in football. This isn't just about finding a coach who can teach technique. This is about identity. Are the Vikings going back to wide zone roots, leaning into a Shanahan-style system, or are they building something more multiple and adaptable? Every name on this list represents a different vision for the future of the Minnesota Vikings offense, and that's what makes this search so compelling. Let's start in-house with Keith Carter, the current assistant offensive line coach. Carter was brought in last season specifically to support Chris Cooper, and he brings experience as the Jets' offensive line coach and run game coordinator in 2023 and 2024. Continuity is the biggest advantage here. Carter already knows the building, the players, and Kevin O'Connell's expectations. Promoting from within could offer a smoother transition without starting from scratch. But here's the question Vikings fans have to ask. Is continuity enough? Or does this unit need a completely fresh voice to spark real change? Another intriguing name is Kevin Carberry from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Despite injuries and roster turnover, his offensive lines have consistently overperformed, showing toughness and adaptability. Carberry's reputation is built on development and resilience, two traits the Minnesota Vikings desperately need up front. Losing starters and still producing is no accident, it's coaching. If the Vikings want someone who can maximize imperfect talent and survive adversity, Carberry deserves serious consideration. Zach Cromer from the Los Angeles Rams brings a familiar connection. He was part of the Rams staff during Kevin O'Connell's time there, and yes, his last name carries weight. His father, Aaron Cromer, is a legendary offensive line coach, and Zach has grown up around elite line play and teaching standards. That pedigree matters. For O'Connell, this could feel like a comfortable fit, someone who speaks the same football language and understands the system at a deep level. Then there's Dwayne Ledford from the Atlanta Falcons, a name that should make Vikings fans lean forward. Ledford played a huge role in building one of the league's most effective run games. Atlanta leaned heavily into outside zone concepts and maximized their personnel, something the Minnesota Vikings have struggled to do. With the Falcons' staff turnover, Ledford could be available. If the Vikings want to recommit to a physical, efficient ground game, Ledford might be one of the strongest options on the board. Chris Watt from the Indianapolis Colts is another fascinating candidate. Despite massive turnover, the Colts consistently fielded one of the league's strongest defensive lines. Replacing multiple starters and still excelling is a testament to development and coaching infrastructure. Young players stepped in and performed at a high level. For a Vikings roster that needs young linemen to grow fast, Watt's track record should not be overlooked. Ramon Chinyoung from the Dallas Cowboys is a rising name. With only 3 seasons of coaching experience, he's already made a noticeable impact on Dallas' offensive line and run game. Sometimes the best hires aren't the most experienced, but the most innovative and connected to modern techniques. Dallas took a clear step forward this year. The Minnesota Vikings could surprise everyone by betting on upside and fresh thinking instead of tradition. Steve Oliver from the Detroit Lions brings a different kind of appeal. Detroit has built one of the most creative and effective rushing attacks in the NFL over the past 3 seasons. Despite injuries along the interior, the Lions remained consistent, disciplined, and aggressive. That doesn't happen without strong offensive line coaching. Hiring from a division rival is always risky, but it can also be revealing. Oliver knows exactly what it takes to win in the NFC North trenches. Former Pro Bowl guard Jari Evans from the New Orleans Saints offers both credibility and upside. As a former elite player, he commands instant respect in the room. His work helping coach a solid Saints unit shows promise, especially for young linemen who benefit from learning directly from someone who's been there. For the Minnesota Vikings, Evans could be a long-term developmental play with leadership baked in. Justin Outen from the Seattle Seahawks also deserves attention. Despite minimal additions, Seattle's offensive line took noticeable steps forward this season. Run game coordination and line cohesion improved significantly, even if others got more credit publicly. Coaching often shows up in subtle ways. If the Vikings want a coach who can do more with less, Outen fits that profile. Cameron Clemens from the San Francisco 49ers might be the dream scenario. Who wouldn't want a piece of that dominant, creative rushing attack? San Francisco consistently produces physical, disciplined linemen who execute complex run schemes at a high level. Clemens has been part of that machine. The Jaguars tried to pull him away last offseason, which tells you how highly regarded he is around the league. Now let's bring in expert insight, because choosing the right coach depends on one critical question. What does Kevin O'Connell want this offense to become? According to coaching expert A.J. Schultz, the hire will reflect the next evolution of the Vikings offense, not just a fix for last year's problems. If O'Connell wants to return to his McVay and Shanahan roots with an outside zone-heavy attack, names like Dwayne Ledford or Cameron Clemens make perfect sense. But if KOC wants a more multiple, flexible rushing approach, then Steve Oliver from Detroit or Chris Watt from Indianapolis stand out. Both bring creativity, adaptability, and a proven ability to develop talent under changing circumstances. This is about philosophy as much as technique, and that's why this decision matters more than most fans realize. So Vikings fans, now it's your turn. Who should the Minnesota Vikings hire to lead the offensive line into the future? Do you want familiarity or a fresh start? Do you want wide zone routes or a modern, diverse run game that keeps defenses guessing? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this hire could quietly shape everything we see on Sundays next season. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Minnesota Vikings news, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with every Vikings fan you know. Skol, and we'll see you in the next one.